O God, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts be acceptable in your sight. O God, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. The people of God are in the wilderness. They do not understand how the world works anymore. They do not know where they're supposed to go. Not really. They only know that every day they have to get up, put one foot in front of the other, and get to the other side of the day. Making it through the day, not a super high bar in general, but when you're out in the wilderness, it takes an effort. In the wilderness. That's the name for this book of the Bible. At least that's the name for this book of the Bible in the Hebrew. In the Christian scriptures, we typically call this Numbers. We call it Numbers because it has a census at the beginning where they count up all of the people. And as a naming convention goes, I don't think very much of this particular naming convention. This is a bit like you are deciding upon the name for an ancient Greek epic poem about the siege of Troy, and you have decided upon the name Catalog of Boats. It's not a great name. I mean, the census, it did happen at the beginning of Numbers. That's true, but it's not the main thing. It should be called In the Wilderness, but I digress. This time in the wilderness, it goes on and on, not for 4 months, not for 4 years, but for 40 years. And as time drags on, the people begin living in their memories. With the present unmoored and unrecognizable, the past starts looking pretty good. They begin remembering about the common life of the nation when they were in Egypt. Certain parts of that life loom large. They remember the good parts. Mostly, they're remembering simple pleasures of food. Cucumbers and onions and garlic and meat. As another side note, and then I promise I'll stay on task, I find it very disorienting that the word cucumbers is in the Bible. I don't know, it feels very wrong. The people are remembering past eras, just a few years before, and they were romanticizing what life was like compared to their present difficulties. And it's true, they did have leeks and garlic and cucumbers in Egypt, but the people were not free. The past really had not been any kind of wonderland, although memory does have a way of playing those tricks. Nostalgia can make the past look pretty rosy, a time of plenty and freedom from worry, when that was not really true. But who can blame the Israelites? Who can blame them for remembering the past fondly? The people are in the wilderness. They do not know how the world works anymore. They do not know where they're supposed to go. Not really. They only know that every day they have to get up and put one foot in front of the other and get to the other end of the day. Who can blame them for wanting some parts of the past to come back? All they want is some meat to eat. And they pray to God about it, in a way. Hunger is a kind of prayer. Longing is a kind of prayer. Fear is a kind of a prayer. And God then makes an appearance. Makes an appearance at the tent of meeting for all of the people, and God comes off, frankly, a little bit snippy. God says to the people, "Oh, you want meat? I'll give you quail." And I don't just mean a little bit of quail. I'll give you quail until, and I am quoting God here, "I will give you quail until it's coming out of your nostrils." The description of the amount of quail is honestly worth a look. It's in the chapter immediately following this one, because the quails, they fell from the sky such that they were covering the ground as far as the eye could see. And if you wanted to reach the end of the pile of quails, you had to walk an entire day on foot in any direction in order to find the end of the pile of quails. And this pile of quails, it's not one quail deep. It is 2 cubits deep. That is, it is 6 feet deep. So this is a square, 20 miles by 20 miles by 6 feet deep of quail. And I've done a little bit of math. That equates to approximately 21 cubic feet of quail. per person. That's a lot of quail. We're talking grilled quail, boiled quail, quail fricassee, fried quail, quail omelets, quail casserole, quail soup, quail salad, hot and cold, quail gelée, quail au gratin, quail smoothie, quail sushi, quail lasagna, quail tartare, quail tacos, quail sandwiches, and yes, I'm still doing this bit, quail pot pie, quail kebabs, quail a la mode, quail until it is coming out of their nostrils. The people had prayed for meat. Be careful what you pray for. You might get it. Today is Stewardship Celebration Sunday. This is when we prayerfully consider how we will live into our covenant as members of this church together. We who are here, this gathering of believers, this community of the faithful, we are Old South Church. If Old South Church exists, it is only in the gathering of the faithful that it does. The programs that we offer, those are led by us. The services we host, the volunteers for that are us. The acts of mercy we promulgate in the world by the church's financial gifts to other organizations and individuals, all of that is funded by us. The beauty we make in the world, the joy we sing into reality every week, that's us. Our time, our talent, our treasure, each part of that traces a straight line to the members of the church. And it's not some long wavy line. You give of your time and your talent and your treasure, and that becomes the ministry of this church. This is how the Christian life in general works, whether you're a member of this church or any church or not. The life of faith comes from it being lived out by the people. What should you give to this church, or what should you give to the life of faith in general? That is a hard answer. I do not have the answer to that question for you, but I do have a piece of advice about how to think about it. Give of your time and your talent and your treasure and your faith. Give until you just cannot wait to see what God will do with it. Give until you just cannot wait to see what God will make of your gifts. Give until you cannot wait to see what acts of mercy, justice, and beauty will be possible because you have thrown your lot in with the good news, with what God is doing in the world. Because we know where we're trying to go, even if the world is a wilderness and the path ahead unclear. We know where we're trying to go. This is a place where loneliness becomes community. That's where we're going. For you who are longing to love your neighbor as yourself, you who are ready to love your neighbor if you only knew them at all. You who are ready to love your neighbor as you love yourself, if there was just a community to remind you that you deserve that love too. That's where we're going. A place where people are on fire for justice. That's where we're going. Where the vulnerable are protected and the witness of the gospel sounds as a clarion trumpet that God's love is for the pushed aside. God's honor is for the despised. God's home is with the wanderer and with the immigrant and with those who sojourn in foreign lands. A place where Christians are known for their love of the least. That's where we're going. A place where the church is growing by leaps and bounds and baptisms because of the hope that is here for a world in need of hope. That's where we're going. Where our lives and our witness are so clear that the tempest and the tempest-tossed hopeless of the world might look to the faithful, look to Christians, look to this place even and say, I would like to live the lives they are leading. I will go among them and see if it is for me. We are prayerfully devoting ourselves to that work, to growing the church, to serving justice, to deepening community. We are praying for that. But be careful what you pray for. You might get it. If we make real the gospel in the world, if we make real the gospel in the world, this church will grow and grow until we have name badge board bloat. We will need to add more of those name badge boards in the back, expanding them across the hallway, taking up more and more room. Sure, this will be fine for Aislinn Anderson. But if you are a Vogan, you're going to have to walk clear to the elevator lobby. Be careful what you ask for. We make community deep and rich and broad with community dinners and Bible studies and small groups. Our kids, they will have play dates with their Sunday school buddies. There will be social calendars, just a wreck to keep track of, and heaven forbid you should celebrate a graduation or the birth of a grandchild. Cards in the mail, so many cards, you'll have them coming out of your nostrils. To love your neighbor, to be loved by them, to really have a community. Be careful what you pray for. If we make this place dance with a drumbeat of justice being formed and informed by the ancient faith that inspires us, then you've got to be aware that sort of thing attracts attention. Like your coworkers who wish that they knew how to make a difference in the world, they'll start asking you about it. Like your friends who are wondering what the best way could be to respond to tragedy and outrage, they'll ask you, and you know what? You'll actually know. You'll actually have a way for them to follow. You want this place on fire for justice? Be careful what you pray for. We are prayerfully devoting ourselves to that work, to growing the church, to serving justice, to deepening community. We are praying for that. Be careful what you pray for. You might get it.